Well, let's go ahead and kick things off. Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah Horton. I'm the Director of North America at Go Vocal. We're partners to the City of Allen, Texas, and we are super fortunate that both Mark and Eric are joining us for this conversation today. A couple housekeeping items. Please feel free to utilize chat throughout. Our team will be here monitoring any questions that come through there or the Q&A feature, and we'll try and get to those during the conversation. Also, this is meant to be casual and inclusive of all voices. So we definitely want to hear from you. If you have thoughts, comments, or anything, please add those to the chat. Mark and Eric have been so generous with their insights. I know you all will learn a lot from them. So we want you to get as much out of this conversation as possible. Just a quick setup. So you all are here, hopefully to learn about their comprehensive plan and their approach to it, specifically how they modernized it using different types of engagement methods. Before we kick off the conversation, we'll just do a couple quick intros from our panelists. So, Mark, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself first, that'd be great.
Sure. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mark Kerbensaid. I'm the Director of Community Development here at the City of Allen. I've been in this role almost 8 years right now. I'm probably about 20 years experience, a little bit more in the planning role, both public and private sector. And this has been my second venture into comprehensive plan updates, but certainly my first one here at the City of Allen. So I'm excited to kind of share what we've learned as we've gone through the public input process here, which is just changing just about every single day.
Wonderful. And Eric, over to you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Eric Waldbauer. I'm the Senior Engagement and Outreach Specialist at the City of Allen. I've been in this role for about a year, and I've been in communications for about coming up on 8 years here at the city. So similar to Mark, it's as I'm sure you all are aware, it's engagement is a space that's changing every single day, and it feels like the titles don't matter sometimes. It's just kind of the world that we're all living in that's changing all the time, and we're having to adjust. So excited to share some thoughts with y'all.
Thank you both. All right, so before we officially jump into some of the questions we've prepared, Mark, it would be great if you can share, for those in the audience maybe that aren't familiar with the comp planning process, a little bit about, what was Allen 2045 about, what were your objectives, and why was robust community engagement important to that?
Sure. So our comprehensive plan is here in Texas is a little bit different. I'm seeing some of the folks from Virginia and certainly from Florida, where I had spent past life in Florida. So I know that comprehensive plans are regulated differently based upon those state agencies. Texas is very little regulation, but nonetheless, we still do a long-term plan. So 2045 is our planning horizon that we look at, even though these plans have about a life of 5 to 10 years. But what this allows us to do is, chart our course and look out there into the future on kind of where we're going to be. And in our case, we have a very distinct change occurring here in our city. We're about 91% built out. And so what we're trying to do and imagine on this point is we begin to go from a high growth outer ring suburb, which kind of framed Allen for the last 40 or 50 years, to going to a build out where we start to contemplate redevelopment and what that looks like here in our city. So that was really the main focus on this plan.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. I'll leave this slide up for just a couple minutes for those who are joining late in case you all want to access the link and check out their platform. Eric's been responsible for this platform for a couple years now, and it's so well designed and has great engagement. So do check it out. All right, so let's dive into the conversation. Mark, kind of building on what you just shared and those objectives, why did you think that now was the right time to kind of modernize the approach to gathering community engagement on the comp plan?
Sure. And I'm going to try my best with Eric to kind of do our dance steps here, and I make sure I don't step on his toes and steal too much of his thunder. It was important for us to modernize our approach. Really, it's from a citywide, and that's what Eric's going to focus on. we just have had so many engagement opportunities where we are constantly doing a whatever .gov or .org website, right, that we're trying to spin up to allow us to engage here at the city of Allen. And this allows us to really centralize where we're able to capture input and really allow us to get input from folks that wouldn't otherwise come to the city. One of the takeaways, and always looking for positives, and even still talking about COVID, right, was to find different ways to engage with folks. I think one of the positives that is still in our world is that we're learning other ways to get to folks rather than having them come to us. And our days of doing the 200 person Saturday town hall meeting as our primary engagement opportunity, while they still exist in all of our communities and they're still a component of our input, I think where we're getting our biggest diversity across the spectrum and really rounding out our community is in those small pop-up engagement opportunities through either polls or different quick YouTubes that we put out there that we might only get an engagement in a city of 100,000 like us of 20, 30, 40 people at a time and get that input there. But I think that's really what we wanted to see, is to find a way to get to people rather than have them come to us.
Yeah, I think that will resonate with a lot of folks in the audience, reaching people where they are. Were there any other major challenges that you were looking to solve this time around related to this new engagement strategy, other than reaching people who might not have found the city otherwise?
No, to round out our demographic. So and this is going to probably be something that goes across the spectrum, regardless of the state you live in or whatever area you're in. But voter apathy and participation on a local level is really tough, right? And I'm sure most folks, when you go look at your rolls or your voter rolls, ROLLS rolls, right? When folks come in and vote in municipal elections, they're 2, 3, 4, 5%, right, of your population. And then we go through and engage Allen exercise like we've done here, and we have some political folks that are saying, like, we want to have this many hits, we want 5,000, 10,000 hits on this to get a significant return. And that's just not the world I don't think we live in terms of participation. And that platform certainly doesn't solve that. That's a whole other webinar to solve on how to get folks to engage more into your city. But this, on the platform side, from our standpoint, I really think that this gave us the chance to round out our demographic, like I started the response to get the folks that are kind of the parents that aren't able to give up 7 o'clock on a Tuesday evening to come and share their thoughts, right? They're able to do this asynchronously through a different platform and get their feedback. And when we did look at all our engagement, both geographically and across various demographic characteristics, we really did round out our city and got a really close representative sample of what our overall population is.
Awesome. I love to hear that. All right, Eric, over to you. From the outreach and comms perspective, what do you think was different? What were some of the key advantages of this community engagement process compared to past Engage Allen initiatives overall?
Yeah, so I was not around for the last comprehensive plan update we did. And just sort of to build off of something that Mark had said previously, this Engage Allen initiative that we've been taking over the last few years and using this platform for more and more things, it really is coming at the right time. And it's something that I think we see our community is wanting more of. Kind of like mentioned just before this, this platform and its existence doesn't necessarily solve the problem of voter participation, people wanting to, give input or feeling that it's necessary or anything like that. But it does solve the problem of having it all in one place in a platform that is easily accessible. So this, as far as using our platform, Engage Allen, for things like the comprehensive plan, or you see there on the screenshot, They're reimagining one of the bigger parks in Allen and asking people what their thoughts are on the playground there. It, like Mark said before, all of this would have been happening at an in-person meeting. We would have been lucky if there were multiple meetings. We would have been lucky if more people showed up to the second meeting than showed up to the first one. Uh, all of these things that I think this having this tool is beneficial to us because it allows us to have these things happening at different times instead of just saying, "Oh, okay, great, you can't make it on a Tuesday night. Sorry, that's your chance." So I think for promotion and outreach of this stuff as well. It's a much easier pill to swallow for someone to say like, okay, I don't have 5 minutes right now to take this online survey, but I can take it tonight when I get home. Or when we're at an in-person event talking to people about the comprehensive plan and we're handing them cards that have QR codes that take you to the survey that we have for the comp plan. That's something that they can do when they have the time. They don't have to stop what they're doing and tell their kid to hold on, like don't go to the next station and let me take the survey. They don't have to do it right then. So
Mhm.
it changes the way that communicators that we can think about things when we're wanting there to be a call to action. We want people to take this survey or give their input in another method. It is refreshing, I think, and I think for the people who also participate in these things. It's refreshing that it's not just part of the noise all the time.
Mhm. Yeah, I totally appreciate that. Kind of building off what you shared around in-person events, pop-ups, town halls, one thing that really stood out to me, as far as like an outreach and promotion perspective is you really utilize blended engagement well. So we talked about some of those things already, but you also did mailers. I'm curious if you could share a little bit more about the broader, even beyond the platform, engagement strategy, what that looked like in practice, and if there were any surprises on things that worked really well to get people involved.
Yeah, so my team that I work with here, the Public and Media Relations Office, we have used kind of hybrid approaches for other things in the past, even before we had the Engage Allen platform. But um, it's it's nice when you need to expand your audience into lanes that you wouldn't reach otherwise. We know we've got an audience on Facebook, and we know almost exactly who that audience is.
Mhm.
They are a very engaged audience, and they love to interact, whether that's in a negative or positive way. They love to interact with us on that platform. But it's the same people. And we know that our utility billing department downstairs, like, oh, these people have, the contact information, the email addresses, the mailing addresses for our utility billing customers in the city, and that's a list of people that we've used that contact list to great effect before on multiple different things. We have a printed newsletter that goes out every other month to this list of people. Every mailbox in the city gets one, and we get to choose what information goes in there. And so yeah, when the comprehensive plan is getting updated, you bet that that's gonna make front page in there. So it's for us, it was a lot of utilizing some of the things that we had already used before, but thinking outside the box on certain things and also trying to maximize our opportunity to engage people. We attended, trying to remember, this was last year, might have been more than one, but we attended at least one event that was put on by the school district here in Allen, or one of the school districts here in Allen. Uh, this is their event and we're piggybacking on it. And, you know, coming in with comprehensive plan information, and some of the consultants that we're working with on this process came and had our big boards and engaged families who came by who were there for the school district's event. And we got a lot of eyes on our information. A lot of participation came from that.
Wonderful. Okay, so shifting gears a bit, I want to talk about kind of the leadership perspective. So, Mark, as a director level persona, and also, we have some other directors in the audience. I'm curious to hear from your perspective how it was using the data that came out of the community engagement efforts to build trust with city council, other citywide leadership. Were there certain data points that were most compelling for them, or a turning point moment where that data was actually used to make decisions internally?
Absolutely. So this platform makes all that input very transparent. So when we're talking about trust, the first level of trust we're dealing with any outreach this big, right, in our community, is trust that my input is actually going somewhere, right, and it's being used to produce something, or it's having an impact, right, and people are listening to me, because the last thing people want to do is fill out a survey and think it goes to some black hole and we never see it. So now we have a very transparent platform where that input is being put out there for everybody in the community to see. And so that what that does is that builds trust both with the community as we're going through the process, that they have a voice, but it also builds trust with our leadership, leadership, primarily our elected officials, right? Because our elected officials at the end of the day want to make sure that they're hearing from their constituents, right? And they want to make sure that they're getting the true story, that it's not getting filtered through me, right? And not through our consultants and other folks. And it's not getting filtered out there, and they're only hearing bits and pieces. So they're able to go to this platform as well and see that data and that unfiltered data. But our council ultimately, when they stand up here and they approve this, which they did at the end of April, and when they approve this plan, or even more importantly, when they make land use decisions moving forward, at various points as we continue to progress, they want to be able to trust that that decision is being made based upon a vision of the population of the city of Allen, right? Not being made based upon whatever Mark's or some consultant's idea of whatever the best planning practice is, right? It has to be what the residents have decided and given their input, and now council can go ahead and make those tough decisions, knowing that they have that backstop, if you will, right? That political backstop to be able to make a decision, because that decision, even though they might have some controversial viewpoints out in the audience at the time they're making the decision, and we've all worked in the public government, where you have those 6, 8, 10 residents that can dictate a decision, even in a city of our size of over 100,000. You have those people dictating those decisions. A council gets a lot of solace knowing that they have a transparent public input process, that they can make that decision. It might be contrary to standing out there, because that viewpoint is representative of the folks that gave the input on this plan. So it really is important to have that transparency and build that trust both with our residents as well as our elected officials.
And do you have any advice to give to those in the audience who are struggling and are trying to get buy-in on from city leadership around some of the things that they're hearing from the community?
Yeah. So my advice on this, and this is advice that was given to me a long time ago. Whenever you're going through this public process, it's all about a journey, right? And you have an idea, and sometimes you actually know where that end point is going to be, and you know how it's going to get there, right? But you have to allow folks to get there with you, right? Certainly if you're in the planning world and you have this as your expertise, right? And so you have an idea of where this is going to go. But you have to allow folks to come along, because at the end of the day, it's not my plan, right? And I don't own this, right? Even if I don't bring folks along, whether it's my elected officials, whether it's our residents and our business owners and whoever the stakeholders are in our community, if I don't pause and allow them to have those small input opportunities and have that chance to voice their concerns and let things bake a little bit and let it kind of simmer, right? And allow it to go through the process, and they don't own this, at the end of the day, this plan just dies, right? So I guess my advice is to to take those small bits of input, however you can, using a platform like this, and have multiple opportunities that occur over time, and allow that to just kind of build as you go through the process, and be patient as you go through that process, both with your residents and your stakeholders, as well as your councils, right? You have to allow them to own this as well, because they're ultimately going to be the ones that are saying, yes, I vote for, or no, I don't vote for this. So have patience with them. Let them come along, um, and let them feel like this is something, not feel like, but let them have the opportunity to own this. And so that's my, I guess, my input: patience along the process, and give people a chance to voice their input and actually incorporate it into the plan.
Mhm. We just got a question from the audience I think is relevant in this part of the conversation, so I'm going to go ahead and ask it now. How do you make people feel heard if they're not getting what they want? So maybe this might be in reference to, there's some louder voices that show up to public meetings. Maybe their opinion wasn't representative of what the rest of the community thought or what was ultimately accepted as part of the plan. Are there ways and are there tactics we can employ to still make them feel heard and listened to, and either for Mark or Eric?
Yeah, I can speak to this a little bit. We, as Mark alluded to, working in city government, we, run into situations like this a lot. People get very passionate about the things that they um, have strong feelings for, or just really love or really hate. And I think with situations like this, for things in which we've asked input for, and then someone doesn't exactly get the thing they requested, I think oftentimes the best way to kind of calm the fires a little bit is to just be very transparent with the data that you have collected. Um, a lot of cases, not every case, but a lot of cases, it boils down to, someone is upset that the new rec center being built does not have an indoor pool. They really wanted an indoor pool and it's not going to have one. Well, we can publish our survey results on this, and we can see that all these people took this survey, and only 3 people said that they wanted an indoor pool, versus, 60% of people said that they wanted indoor basketball courts. Well, we're having to do a lot with public funds, and we're trying to make the best use of those things. And so sometimes it is as straightforward as that, is just kind of showing your work. I will say and this is something that's more on the front end rather than the back end, but I just for getting into the engagement space and getting more comfortable with asking for input, it's sort of a two-sided edge on this, and part of it is just being able to say what you are willing to relinquish a bit of control over. And not just for you, but for any other teams or departments in your organization that would have a hand in either making whatever this project is a reality, or maybe it's maybe it's the example I used before, a new recreation center. So, what is Parks and Rec able or willing to relinquish control over? Like, are they willing to let the community dictate what is going to be done with 600 square feet of rec center? Probably not. Or are they willing to say, okay, we've got a big exterior wall, we will let people pick a design that is going to be a mural that's going to go there, which, would let people kind of literally leave their stamp on something. Maybe that's something that we don't really care too much about having it exactly the way we want it. Um, it's a slow process, and Mark mentioned this as well. As far as getting people comfortable with this idea of asking for input and then following through on it. And I know that I've gone off on like a little bit of a tangent. I apologize for that.
No,
But
I
I
think this
I think
resonates really well with our audience. We hear it all the time, right? It's genuine, authentic engagement opportunities, right? Like you're not serving for the sake of serving. You're actually backing it up in decision making, and I think that's why you got such good participation.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day as well, the more you start to do things like this, and the more that you really engage in a genuine way, and you're really asking for people's thoughts and opinions on something, and you're not just asking it just to ask it. It's not checking a box. That will become the expectation, and that will be, those regular people who show up to council meetings and demand that something is a certain way, or who are always in the comment sections on your Facebook posts, rallying against something. Those regular engagers, they will start to see, the expectation of the example that you're setting with engagement is one of true listening and is really a learning process for both parties.
I love that. Mark, anything to add to that?
Yeah, just the quick distinction, being heard and getting your way are two different things, right? And so you're never going to solve the latter on this one. You are going to allow people to understand being heard, and to what Eric said as well. When you have some of that transparency through results or different input that happens, it allows our elected officials or even our administrative officials to make those tough decisions and be able to be defensible in those, because let's be honest, we're never going to satisfy 100% of the people. There's always going to be people that are not happy. There's always going to be winners and losers in any kind of effort like this, right? Your best bet is to make sure that you have a representative, sample, if you will, and you're transparent as you can be, and you do give people the opportunity to have that input.
Mm. I'll add one thing from my observation of this project and working with you, Eric, is you all did a really great job at providing that educational piece throughout the entire process. So there was a lot of context, how the feedback would be used, what were you specifically asking for feedback for, and closing that loop. I thought that was really well done. And when people have that context of what's going into decision making, I think they can engage in a more high quality way than maybe would be done in the comment section on social media. So kudos to you both for doing that. All right, coming to the end here, a couple more questions for me, and then audience, definitely start dropping your questions either in chat or using the Q&A function. Eric, looking back now that the process is done and City Council approved it back in April, is there anything you do differently or something you'd absolutely repeat, do again?
I mentioned this before, this event that we, piggybacked on that our school district was doing. I would have loved to do more of those. That was one of the, I think, most effective ways to just get in front of a brand new group of people, and to get this information about the comprehensive plan out there, even if these people didn't feel it necessary to, go and take the survey or leave their input in another way. Um, it's it's meeting with people who might not have been plugged in on any of our other channels, and I think we only did that. I didn't think we only did that event once during this process, but that has been a consistent source of new audience, and we've gone to their events since then as well. And I would just say in general, if you don't have a good relationship with some of these other organizations in your community, start now, because when you do something like a comprehensive plan update, or a bond program, those are incredible partners to have in the community, because chances are they will want some of the same things that you want, as far as reaching people and engaging populations. So hands down, that would be the one thing. If I had to pick one thing to do differently or do more of, it would be to work more with partner organizations in the community to do more collaborative things like that.
Love that. And then Mark, for you, how has this process changed or reinforced the way your team, community development, thinks about long-term planning? And will this model carry forward into any of the other planning initiatives you have coming up?
Yeah, it has changed. It's changed as I've kind of done my life, through a planner, over the last, 20 years or so. where it really started out with, the public engagement was that, that weekend charrette, right, that you all do. And while that still has a place, that weekend charrette, it was really your public engagement, right? And that was how you checked the box for public engagement, and you had a lot of folks show up out there. Versus now, as I said earlier, you're getting people to come in and, tens and twelves, right, and 15s to engage online in the platform asynchronously, usually, right? And so that's changed the way that I think I've going to approach this moving forward as we do other initiatives. Now, with the trick, I think moving forward with this platform, right? Because this platform is it's great from a citywide initiative, but where the folks in Eric's team, in Pamro, have to be kind of the gatekeepers is that fatigue component, right? And so as you're going out to the public and you want to have their input, every group in our city, we're all the same, right? One of the first questions we ask, what do you love about the city of Allen, right? And we all want to ask that. We all want to put up this word map, and we all want to see what we love about the city of Allen, right? And we ask that question across almost all of our engagements, but now we have to start thinking like, how do we not get that fatigue, right? As we go across our entire city, how do we begin to complement each other as we're going out with different initiatives? Because if you look on our platform, over the last couple of years that we've done this, we have a couple dozen initiatives that we got out with quick one hitters, right? Versus an effort like, Allen 2045, when you use this platform in so many different capacities. While it's great to have that captive audience start to build up at times, we have to be very cognizant that we're asking people to give input over and over again and make sure that we're not, asking them to give the same input, because then they're going to start to tune out. But we will use this platform moving forward when we get into our small area plans and we begin to engage with different capacities. And maybe we have more of a targeted approach on that. It's not as citywide for our small area plans, but I think this platform has a ton of opportunity to be able to use it, whether it's for a small portion of our city or go citywide.
Um, Eric, do you have anything to add to that? How, as a centralized comms team, how you think about that kind of community engagement fatigue or kind of reserving same questions, how you do that when you advise so many different departments on their engagement initiatives?
Yeah, and this is a tough one. It's a good problem to have, we're realizing, because I think what's happening in sort of this moment in time, this transition period that we are in right now for our department, was one of everyone now kind of sees the benefit of this and is interested in kind of jumping on board, which again is wonderful. But I think there are a lot of times when I think people want to get sort of that really nice, heartwarming or really nice, just kind of soft feedback about the things that they're doing. Like you mentioned, the questions of, what do you love about Alan, and all of these things. And I think you do need someone in a position to sort of mediate between these teams who are wanting to do more things, either, if you have a platform, either on your platform or, SurveyMonkey, whatever your organization might be using, to just say, how does the answer to this question benefit what you are trying to do?
Mm.
And I think a lot of the time, questions like, what do you love about Alan? Uh, Softer things like that don't really work as well. And so I think when you start asking questions like that, I think a lot of the time, at least in my experience, people have said, okay, like, makes sense. Let's go back to the drawing board and think about exactly what are our goals here. I think examples of this are things like the Celebration Park reimagine. New playground is coming to this big park in Allen, and we want to know what people think about it. And we're asking some softer questions just to kind of get people into the mindset of what we're really trying to ask, which is, what do you want to see in your playground? We're giving specific examples there, and we're trying to make sure that it's different than the other more recent things that we have done. as well. And I think that is one way that you can avoid a bit of, I guess, input fatigue. And uh, we live in an era where, there's information that's being thrown at you from every direction all the time. So I think one way to avoid that is differentiating it. And I think another way is um, to just be very upfront about what your input method or what your input, your survey, your poll, whatever it is, what exactly will be asked, and then letting people decide for themselves if it's worth their time or if it's of interest to them or anything else. If I don't live in Allen, but if I was an Allen resident and I looked at Engage Allen, I'd say, yeah, I'm interested in the Celebration Park playground input method. And, if our comprehensive plan was, still in the input phase, I might not be as interested in that because I know that they're talking about housing and transportation. Maybe those things don't matter as much to me. So I think being very clear and upfront with people is very important to avoid those things. And also, if you can, advocate for spreading things out, advocate for very intentional input gathering and very intentional questions. And it takes more brain power, I think, collectively from everyone to kind of think about things that way sometimes. But it is very worth it when it comes to working with other teams, especially.
Mhm. Great advice and super actionable. Thank you, Eric, for that. Okay, we do have two questions from the audience. I think it makes sense to go to those now. The first one is, how long did you have the survey live, and how many completed surveys did you get? So specifically for the engagement for Allen 2045, how many surveys did you get and how long was it live for?
You want to tackle this, Eric, or you want me to tackle it? How do you want?
Yeah, so I've got our page pulled up here on my screen. And so we total for this project, we got 612 participants online. And this isn't counting, anyone who engaged with us in person. I don't have that number off the top of my head. I don't know if you do, Mark, but and there could, of course, be overlap between those two groups as well. People who might have attended an event in person and then, maybe gone online and taken the survey. And we had several surveys over the course of this project. Almost each phase that we had in this project had some type of input gathering method, whether it was a full-blown survey or maybe just a space for people to ask questions about whatever draft document was posted. But total, our project was live starting in February of last year. And then Mark mentioned this earlier, but the plan was approved by our council in April of this year. So the last input method was in March. So it lasted a little bit over a year with different surveys and input opportunities happening kind of in that time.
Hmm. Awesome. And a follow-up to this, did you do any paper surveys, so handwritten surveys or forms?
We kind of did, and I saw that question come in too, and I was going to say, to complement what Eric just said, we tried to have a redundant input. So we would go out and we'd have a community open house, right? And we would have a presentation at that community open house, and we'd have our boards with our post-it notes, and people telling us like, what would you change about Allen? What do you love about Allen? What do you think? And giving all their input through little post-it notes and the typical in-person engagement you see. And then what we would do is we turn back around and we'd have, in this case, we had our consultant record a quick YouTube video of that PowerPoint, post that to the platform, and then allow folks to give the same exact input just through our platform and kind of give their post-its, so that we had we had the same exact input coming in at both times. And so we would just have that redundancy. But that was absolutely, you have to give multiple opportunities. I don't think that this is the panacea for all your engagement, right? There's still people that want to come and do post-its, right? They're the same folks that still want to come and they still want to write the check and pay their water bill, right, at the city. And they still want to do things the way that they've always done them because that's what they're comfortable with. And I don't want to take that away because that's their method of giving public input. But we want to also be able to expand that across our entire city to catch the folks that we're not necessarily seeing.
Awesome. All right, final question that we have here. We still have a couple minutes if anyone wants to submit another one. Is there a specific demographic that proves difficult to reach in the city of Allen? If so, why are they unreachable? What makes it difficult? What would you do differently to reach that target demographic?
Yeah, so this is actually a perfectly timed question because we in my department we're talking a lot about this right now. We just did a community-wide via mailer, like very scientific survey just to figure out who exactly are we talking to in Allen when we communicate, and how plugged in are those people? How engaged are they with not just with us in the city and city organizations, but just in their community? And far and away, the hardest group for us to reach is people under the age of 35, between 18 and 35, and especially those who fall within that age bracket who do not have kids. Uh, those people in Allen are very not plugged in. We have a hard time reaching them through our traditional methods and with some of our kind of more non-traditional methods as well. So that has been kind of an eternal struggle for us, and I think now we've been able to put a name on it and are looking at ways to reach those people, which is funny because I currently fall within that category, and I
I was
have
gonna
no
say,
idea
me
how to
too.
answer that question right now for myself. So
Yeah.
this is a bit of a stumper, but it's a group that I think is very oftentimes short on time or short on interest for some of the things that we do. And so, how do we make it more interesting for them? How do we make it more worth their time? I think having a platform like this is a great start. It doesn't force people to, as Mark said, show up on a Saturday afternoon when, hey, they could be going and getting brunch at a patio somewhere, or doing anything else with their time rather than going to, a meeting. It, I think this is a great first step, but I think it is the first step of many. If any of you in the chat have any additional insight on this, I would genuinely love to hear it. Let's collaborate on this. Let's figure it out together.
I love it. Yeah, the millennial stereotype of brunch addiction that definitely rings true, I think, across all cities in the US. Awesome. Well, that is the end of our audience questions. I think if we'll end on kind of a quick rapid fire tip. Mark, maybe we'll go to you first. Do you have any tips for those in the audience that are looking to elevate or modernize their engagement strategy?
Use this as another tool in your toolkit to be able to reach folks. This certainly gives you that option. It doesn't supplant your in-person opportunities as well. They have to all kind of speak to one another. And then bigger your engagement with the city, that's a longer term vision. How you get folks more engaged in your city, that's outside of this specific project, and that's 5, 6, 7, 8 year kind of runway type of project where you begin to build that trust of your community and reach out to them. But this will certainly speed that up and give you a base to begin to communicate with your public. So yeah, start using it. But this isn't the panacea, like I said, for all your engagement woes in the city, and all of a sudden you're going to have 50% engagement because you've gone here. It's a great platform and it has changed our world, but that other part has to get changed systemically in your city.
Totally. And Eric, over to you. Any final tips for the audience?
Yeah, I mentioned some of this before when I was ranting about something probably totally unrelated, but start slow if you are able to. Just like Mark said, this is a marathon, not a sprint. You're not going to change how your community connects with you overnight. Also, find the people in your organization who are willing to be trailblazers, I think, with you. Mark and his team have been incredible to work with, and especially on things like this, having someone who is on a different team but still feels the same way about wanting to engage people and try new things and move the process online has been truly a game changer. So I would say find people in your organization who are willing to trailblaze with you, and just know on the front end that this is a long process to, as Mark put it, change how people behave, how people want to connect, and it's not an overnight thing.
Wonderful. Well, thank you both for these great insights, and thanks to all of you who stuck with us till the end. We're officially over time, so we'll go ahead and wrap up. But thanks again. We'll follow up with some of the key takeaways in an email by tomorrow, so you'll see that from us. And if you have any additional questions for Eric or Mark, feel free to send them to me, and I'll go ahead and forward those over. Thanks all. Have a good rest of your afternoon. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.